It usually shows.
Oh, there we go.
Mm-hmm. There we go.
We're live.
Hi.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, 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 hey.
Happy Tuesday.
Yes, happy Tuesday. Post what? Black History Month, post Mardi Gras,
Women's Week Day.
Women's
Wednesday.
History Month.
Yeah, all the things.
It's also my due date today. Your due
What?
date for me? Your due date for me was March 11th.
Yes. This was the due date.
You
And
would
wait, and let's talk about when you actually came, though.
11 days later.
Later.
That's crazy.
That's
11 days.
torture. Bruh, 5 days was torture for
Real.
11. I would have been like, yeah, forget it. Like, I'm literally just going to be pregnant forever.
I was like, this isn't the new me.
I would have been taking so much castor oil drinks. Like, I would have been.
No.
Let's get this party cracking.
And I tried to walk a lot, and that would just like rock you to sleep. Nothing. When it's
Honey,
time,
I knew what was outside of there. No, I
huh?
knew what was on the outside, and I was not trying to come. I said,
Yeah,
is it too late
yeah.
to turn this ship around?
And then when you came, you were just like, He's totally underwhelmed. I'm like, hey, Maya. You're like, hey. Looking at everybody. Yes. Okay, it's time.
All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Silver Cocoon Podcast. I am your host, Kaya.
I'm your host, Maya.
And I'm your host, Ife.
We are back with episode 2 of Raising Kids While Raising Ourselves, What Parents Learn and Children Observe. Part 2, because last episode was not supposed to be part 1, but we just got so much into each category that we only got halfway through. So it's only right that we're continuing the conversation. If you didn't listen to the last episode, go ahead and watch that after this one. But let's get into all the things that we didn't get into last week, shall we?
Yes. And we have a returning guest. Adia is
Yes.
joining us again for part 2. And as promised, we said that we needed to have a father perspective. And we have Andre Wideman joining us today as well.
The first male on our podcast.
The first male to enter the cocoon. That's right. The silver cocoon.
This is monumental.
Masculine energy is welcome. Yes, indeed. So we're going to start out talking about a couple of comments that we have received on our part 1 of the podcast, of this particular episode of the podcast. We noticed that it generated a lot of attention and reactions from, as it would. Parenting is one of those things. It's a very meaningful, impactful.
Everyone's either been parented or is a parent.
Exactly. And it shapes who you are, right? On either side of that, it's going to shape who you are, your experiences. So people had things to say. And I'm going to share with those comments, a couple of those comments, and talk about the what we gathered.
And just so to be clear, these are clips. These are posted on clips. So we post clips to our social media. So like 60-second blurbs of what we were talking about.
So here is a comment. It says, this reason made me mad as a child, even more mad as a grown ASS adult. That was in reference to the clip about us talking about sleepovers and being like, no go on the sleepovers. And so this person was like, that's crazy. They thought that was crazy. Them being told no sleepovers as a child, really, they didn't appreciate that at all. And even as a grown adult, they think that it's crazy. And then here's another comment we're going to talk about. You tell him what to do and he does it. Sounds like slavery, but the blind leading the blind child. Side-eye emoji. And that was it.
about me telling Maya. It's just giving her some advice, but in the way that I give it. I'm a little blunt sometimes. So,
But I mean, understandably, she didn't know how old my son was. She didn't know that my son was 1 years old and
True.
not
True.
13, you know?
But here's the thing.
Context.
I think we are also learning that one, a clip, and this is something as a viewer and as someone who's posting a clip, it doesn't include the context. So people are going to have opinions based on what they see, and it's not the full conversation about something. And so we have to keep that in mind. Secondly, people are going to be listening to whatever is posted online or anywhere else, any conversation. They're listening through their lens, through their experiences, and not ours.
Yep.
So while we poke fun at each other, we laugh about certain things, we may debate about certain things, but we have a very healthy relationship, and there isn't, this tension and trauma within it. So it's not going to bring forward difficulties and and any challenges are not going to be expressed in that. But there are things that we'll discuss, and someone else may have had a challenge or a trauma associated with that topic, and it's going to hit them a little differently than what it does us, and we're just joking about it. So we keep that in mind too. And then talking about that, we ended up getting into engaging these people a little bit more in the comment section
We
and
had a bit of a debate about how.
say it again. Go ahead.
I said we had a little debate about how to engage
Uh-huh.
because while engagement is engagement, and we love to hear everyone's perspectives, and we mean that, I don't know, but the end of both of those comments was a little rare. And we're not rare, we're roar. So it was just like, okay, but at the end of the day, this is a business. And so we decided to come at it from an open mind and from a place of kindness
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
rather than, checking people.
Right. And people, I think we can disagree. We can disagree, and people can state things in a very, strong way. It was bordering a little, wanted some smoke. But our goal is to have engagement and to invite conversation and to invite people to come and, view what we have, what we're putting out there. So keeping them around is better than, running them off.
but just a quick little comment, little lesson. I feel like, the saying, don't judge a book by its cover. I feel like we need to learn that you cannot take a 30-second, 60-second clip and just run with it and just formulate such a strong opinion all the time just based off of that.
Absolutely.
So that's just another thing we feel like, okay, you see this, you feel a way about it. Let me go watch the whole episode and develop my opinion a little bit more before I just hop on here and just be speaking out of my first impression of, what it is. Because at the end of the day, you don't know us. So, I mean, it happens. It's possible. It's easy to formulate an opinion based off of what you just simply see online. It happens all the time. But we, as people, need to work on not doing that. Dig a little deeper before you get on there, before you throw that line. Dig a little deeper.
But luckily, we were able to approach it from an open-minded conversation and really have conversations with both commenters and really see why they had that perspective. And it was a very healthy exchange, which led to what Mom was saying about understanding and being aware of the fact that these are heavy topics, and even though we have a light experience of them, some don't. And so, that's something that we're aware of and will hold space for.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that is something we learned once we started to dig a little deeper into the comment and the person was explaining their perspective. There was an underlying trauma, and there was
parenting
from their experience as a child with their parents, which is what inspired them to leave the comment that they did.
Which is why this episode is so important, because the way that you parent can have a grown adult being triggered by a 30-second clip online. No tea, no shade. Let's do better, parents. Okay.
Exactly. And it colors the whole, because let's take the thing about sleepovers. And I was really perplexed because I'm like, I'm having a hard time understanding why this person doesn't see the other side of that, and that can be harmful. Just having an open door policy or just a free flow policy for your child to spend the night wherever, whenever, and how there are things that have happened that have been detrimental to children in those cases. And she was teen sleepover and couldn't see anything else, but
Well,
because of her experience as when she was younger. So to your point, Maya, that us as parents, we really have to do better, learn better to do better, because it does carry these experience carry into your child's adulthood.
I do want to give a little bit more context to her comment because I think it was something that we didn't explore or think about. Is she said that sleepovers were good for her. She wanted them because her home environment wasn't safe. So she wanted to spend more time somewhere that was safe. And that's
Right.
something that never crossed my mind to think about. Um, so just adding some context to why
Yeah,
she felt that way.
right, right. But it does help us to have a little bit more empathy when we see these angryish comments, coming out, that there's a story behind it too. And to not just jump in fight fire with
Right,
fire.
but let's not put too much dip on our chip.
Uh,
I said right, but let's not put too much dip on our chips because the Lion King, where Simone's like, let me at it," and he's like pulling him back, "Let me at it, let me at it."
that was happening a lot. It was like, yeah, yeah.
Who's gonna take this one, y'all?
Okay, so
Okay, moving along.
yeah, I think that's important because we're learning too. One of the reasons why I was apprehensive about doing lives or posting a lot on Facebook, or excuse me, social media in general, is because people do be coming out the side of their neck.
They do.
How I'm set up, generally, and I would have to take each situation case by case to decide how I'm going to handle this and being authentic, because I don't feel like being kind and gentle is always the answer for everything. I don't feel like that's the case.
I
I
agree.
don't know if I wanted to invite that into my life, but here we are, and so we're learning to see the humanity in people behind the comments that they're leaving. Right. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
Maya said, she was ready. Um, Real quick, we're going to go into briefly before we bring in our two guests. I wanted to touch on something that we didn't get to delve into deeply, and that was in the preteens having what some may feel like is a split personality, or they go into this stage where um, it just looks chaotic for them. It just looks chaotic. Do you guys want to talk about that? How you
Well,
felt?
I remember you telling us ahead of time before. You said you're gonna hit this, and you're coming up on your preteen years. You're gonna hit something called temporary insanity, and you're gonna think I'm crazy, and you're not gonna think that I like you. You're gonna think that everything I'm saying is wrong. And you're telling me, like, anyways, that's just backstory, like, of how, like, in tune of a mom she is, because we got a precursor. Not that it matters at all once you hit the area, but when you come out, you're like, oh, she did. It helps. We talked about that, how you got to tell your kids stuff because eventually they'll be like, oh, she was right. But anyways, being in it, ooh, I don't know. I did feel like a different person,
You felt,
but
yeah.
it's for me, it was just the tug of war between wanting to be free and having restraint, and that was what created this split personality for me, like thinking I was grown but then needing to check with you about having a kick on my phone, like that didn't really sit. Having like apps on my phone, like
Okay. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
things like that. That's what made me kind of be more of a split personality. And then you're exposed to all different types of personalities at school, and it's different from your home. So you're trying to figure out who you are. Um, but I don't think it's manipulative. We were wondering if, like, is that a manipulative thing or is it
Okay.
developmental?
I don't
I don't
I
think
think
it's on
development.
purpose.
Yeah.
And some of them is, but that's a kid you not need to take to the psych ward.
No, I think manipulation is it doesn't always have to be a bad thing. Number one, we
No,
learn
that's
how
true.
to, yeah, how to, you're learning how to get out of your environment what you desire, what you need. And so that comes along with some positive, there may be a different word for it, but some positive manipulation. And so I didn't hold that time against you guys. I worked in the schools. I remember going through that time myself, and I'm like, there's something happens, and it does, even cognitively in the development of the brain and all of that. There are synapses that are growing, others that are dying off, and literally, to me, that looks like insanity. And so, Blue says she calls it finesse. And so I feel like
Manipulation.
it's a time. It's a time where you're going in so many different directions. You're trying to understand what your independence might be, but think way ahead of yourself on what the reality of that is. And then the parents are trying to, still protect you. But we don't talk enough about what that for the parent, because you guys enter the preteen stage. You go from having 1 to 2 teachers to having like 5 to 7, right? That we
I
have to
didn't think
keep.
about that.
Man, when you went into middle school, I was like, what the heck? The the
But
response.
it's when I tell you, Mom, that's because you like to email each teacher personally and ask how I did every week and ask for my homework every week. Yeah, that's that's because you wanted to do a lot. Like,
I mean, I was doing what I was doing, and then it ballooned on me real quickly, and that was hard. That was hard. And then your children are doing all manners of things. What about you, Kai? What did you feel like? And you're going into middle school. How did that feel for you?
Every year was so different. Like for my middle school years, every year was so different. So
You went into the School of the Arts.
School of the Arts, and then y'all know my 7th grade year, and then my
That was a serious contrast.
is contrast. So
it was like, yeah.
it clear, and Maya said this in the previous episode, that it was like that age is like you said, just kind of finding yourself. So there's a lot of like peer influence, and um I don't know. I mean, I still don't feel like it wasn't manipulative still on my behalf. It was definitely developmental. I didn't know. I was trying to, I don't even know. I don't even know.
Well, I feel like in your excuse in 7th grade, we had just gone through a wildfire. And
We did.
so that
We
was
did.
right after something kind of traumatic happening in the family. And so I feel like that's not as
Right.
bad.
So
What you did wasn't that bad, actually, in retrospect.
not I was crashing out, but my mom didn't give me any like leeway for how I was acting, or I never like, it was never until you just said that just now. Like it was never like, okay, like that should have been looked at like, okay, she's acting like this because of what you know what I'm saying? Like that was never talked about. So just this
I think that my way of dealing with that was just providing an environment that was joyful, that was safe, that was healthy.
I'm saying like
But there were still. Are we going to call out and ask you?
No, but hold on. Let me explain because I actually did just write about this. And I
Okay,
think
go
you
ahead.
have a point here. Because,
Okay,
like, everybody was doing it for the first time. So this is nothing on you wrong. Like, in retrospect,
I'm
though,
gonna let it off. Go ahead. Mhm.
in retrospect, it was like the negative behaviors because I was wilding that year too. It wasn't seen as like, okay, this might be in response to this. Let's
yeah,
look a little
yeah.
deeper into it. It was like, oh, you're in trouble. This is discipline. Like that's what there was not that level of conversation that was had around it because I didn't even realize that till older in Perkaya just now.
Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, and for me, I did understand that these things might be connected, and while we're having a conversation about the impact of that experience altogether, there were behaviors that I was just like, yeah, no, this still is not okay. So, but I guess I didn't connect the two conversations, is what you guys are saying. Like I
Yeah.
dealt with over here, like y'all are bugging, and then we were dealing with this over here, but I didn't say, like, I understand that this is maybe why you are
Exactly.
acting out.
And I don't
'Cause
know, like maybe that could have made me think about things differently.
About it differently. You're
Mhm.
right.
I could have really sat down and been like, okay, Kai, like this is probably in reaction to this. So maybe you need to, you know what I'm saying? Like I didn't make that correlation. Cause typically as a young child, you don't really understand the emotions. They
Why
just
you're doing the
why
things that
you're doing certain things. Yeah. So
yeah.
But this is great, y'all. This first of all, let's talk about how healthy our relationship is because we just dug into like some past conversations about how and we just handled that very healthily right in front of y'all on live. Like this is parenting.
That's
This is
real hot
parenting,
mic.
and
That's real hot mic. And this is
this is
kind of how we are.
this is how we are. But just showing like how you like when it's done I don't want to say done right because there's no right or wrong, but when it's done consciously, when you
Yeah,
get older and you have these relationships, you're able to have healthy conversations and reach
right,
resolutions and listen
right.
and hope, you know what I'm saying? So that was just I just want to highlight that.
And then also parents understanding that they don't have to take things personally.
Right.
Because my adult children understand the weight of that situation and knew that I was doing the best I could, but then here's a thing that I didn't necessarily put together, and I can say, oh yeah, I missed that, you're right,
Mhm.
yeah, these two things didn't, that makes a lot of sense. And
I
how
think that's important. Yeah,
Mhm.
just what you're saying, like as a parent to just not think, and as a child too, but like as a parent specifically to just not take things personal.
Yeah,
Like
You
when it is,
know,
especially when it comes from like it's coming from once your children they're growing up and they're realizing things like they may their opinion on things, the way that they relay those opinions, like it can come off as offensive, but like you as a parent just have to like, don't take it offensive, but also as like you said, you handled that well. You can sit there and be like, oh, you're right. Like I didn't really think about it that way at the moment either. It's just
yeah, yeah.
but I
Didn't
think a big this just made me think about something and that may help in these preteen years is because right now we're able to see your humanity a lot more than we did back then. Like we're looking back like, oh, you were just a human just going through things for the first time too. Like, you know what I'm
right.
saying? But when
yeah.
you're a teenager, you think that your parents know everything and have all the answers or a preteen, and so you're judging them a little harder. So I feel like to talk to
Mm,
your kids and be like, hey, I'm just outside here. I'm just a girl. Like I
yeah,
know I'm your mom,
yeah,
but I'm just out here. This is my first time living too. This is my first time being a parent. Like I try,
absolutely.
I work through things. I don't know everything. Like just having those types of conversations with your kids when they're younger is helpful as well.
Yep.
And then remember we talked about the parenting in terms of emotional presence
Mhm.
before and after this traumatic event, and how it was a lot more emotionally available and laid back
Mhm.
before and then after. And we were talking about how when you're in a single parent household and things happen, and I was in much more of in a nurturing, emotional nurturing space before the trauma happened, and then after I went full on protective mode. Like I
Mhm.
couldn't, there were certain things that I just couldn't share in the same space. And so it did change the texture of my parenting
But
somewhat.
I didn't notice that.
No?
No. I mean, I was being more bad, so I felt the protect, but I didn't feel a less of your like I didn't feel
Different
a
side.
retreat from your
Oh,
nurturing side. We
okay.
still, I mean, you saw my flowery excerpt, like, well, that was
Yeah.
before, but
Yeah.
still, like, I didn't feel a retreat from that. But I can understand how, but like, we're talking about a situation that no one would be prepared for and no one would know how to, like, really navigate. And so, with that, you could have navigated it so many different ways. We hear stories of mothers that navigate those types of things horribly. So you did great. Like you did
Yeah.
great,
Thank you.
And
And then
so
you
you're
guys
able
really
to
didn't know there was that was a doozy of a situation,
hmm
because both of you were having different reactions to what was happening. And I understood where both of you were coming
hmm
from. And then I was making decisions that neither one of you totally could understand. Some hard nose, like, and I remember saying to you guys one day, like, listen, you're just going to have to trust me on this. Like, I can only explain so much. There's only so much that you're going to get. And that's all I have. That's all I got for you. Like, you're just going to have to trust me on this. I need to make these decisions. And it was one of those,
that.
I'm said what I said. Like, I don't, can't be explaining.
But I like the way that you said it. Like, you're going to have to trust me on this is a little bit better than I said what I said. Like, cause I remember that. And I was like, okay, I do. Cause at the end of the day, we trusted you. And, you know, the more you tell kids, like, hey, I tell my goddaughter sometimes, like, you're just not old enough to understand. Like, it's just like, it's just gonna take a time. Or I remember telling a sibling, like, in 3 to 4 years, we'll have this conversation again because there will be some more understanding. But right now, that's.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point you make, because I have watched that too, and have also talked to some of my friends about certain things. Like, right now, they're not going to get it, but as they get older, they're going to see what they couldn't see then. So don't even worry about it. Don't even worry
It's
about
patience. It takes patience. It takes patience. I remember, like, side note with Kim Kardashian, like, co-parenting with Kanye and their divorce, and she was like, "I'm not telling the kids anything that he did wrong. Like, they'll know soon." But I'm like, that had to have been so hard for her to just, like, I don't care for either one of them, but to just bite her tongue and not say anything, knowing that in 3 years they see for their own. Like, I don't know if I'll be able to do that. Like, 3 years of just waiting, because like, but that's protecting their psyches. It's just parenting is like. It's hard, bro. Oh my
It's the
God.
whole thing. And then we're going to bring in our guests in just a second. And we're going to be asking them this too a little later in the preteen years. What was a golden rule? And one of mine for a parent was patience. That, like, above, I learned, you think you know patience, but not until you've hit those preteen teenage years where you have to apply in so many ways, and trust all the things that you trusted and just let it unfold. So I'm ready to bring in our guest.
Welcome to the cocoon. Shaka, raka.
Adia,
Hey.
Hey guys.
Adia, what's going on? You guys remember Adia from last episode? She came and joined us for the first Raising Children While Raising Ourselves. We had a wonderful conversation, so we had to bring her back for part 2. We couldn't even get through everything because it was just so.
And our commenters loved you, by the way. Like,
yes.
Oh, thank you. Love you guys too.
A time. And as promised, we said we have to get a father. We have to get some masculine energy in here, the father perspective. So I brought a longtime friend, Andre Wideman. We've been friends since I've been 15, since I was 15 years old. So we are grateful to have him here.
I got some questions for you about my mom when she was a teenager.
Oh, God, do we need to put it on the podcast?
That must be another episode, because I got questions too, Maya. What was my string like at 15?
Oh my goodness.
Tell me about Will Wade.
Wait a minute.
I was just listening to y'all when y'all was talking about spending the night and stuff like that. We stayed in the backyard. Your grandma was super cool.
Yeah.
We stayed the night in backyards.
Yeah.
The whole night.
In the backyard.
Yeah.
Just some blankets, fell asleep.
Yeah.
Moonlight, wake up.
Yeah.
We had good. When I say good times, we had good times. Like, my friendship with them is how I learned what being friends with a man is. Like, seriously, masculine energy. We had such dope friendships like that. Invaluable. And still,
I'll say one thing about it. Any woman I've ever been with, and I bring up y'all or anything, my sisters, it's a done deal. That y'all are automatically family. I don't have no problems. When y'all come in town, if I see you, that it's good.
Yep. Always. So thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
So glad we're about to have a good time and get into some good conversation. So both of you guys have boys and girls. I just have girls. So I only know one side of this equation in terms of being a parent. And so we want to talk about, in the preteen years, if you noticed a difference about your parenting or what was required between your boys versus your girls.
Okay, I guess I'll start off. I had girls first, so my oldest are girls. My oldest is 32. They're about to be 33, and then 31.
Mm-hmm.
I thought my middle daughter was going to be a junior, so I named her Angeray. It didn't turn out that way, but it's all good. She still looked like me. But so at the beginning, I was raising my girls. Of course, I was very overprotective, especially in the environment we was growing in up at the time. I didn't know what to expect. I wasn't, my father wasn't around, so I didn't know how to raise, especially a woman. What I did is I think I sacrificed mostly everything that I did to make sure that they was around me. So at 16, 17 years old, when I started having mine, I made sure they had a space to live in. I was there more or less for them girls. And then when I had my sons, I moved here in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Whole different experience. Raising them was at one point I tried to raise them like me. And I had to realize that I needed them to be better than me.
Talk about it.
I had they know my whole story of where I've started and my whole little life, childhood, the bad things, the good things. And I'm just grateful that none of them went that way. Out of 4 boys, all doing pretty well for themselves. But it was definitely a challenge in the early years. Like I said, just being in high school, not even getting out of high school, having two girls on the way. So it was difficult. And at that time, the grandmothers wasn't with it because she was a little bit younger. It was a whole motion. But I've never, like I said, I didn't have kids. My father wasn't around, so I was just determined to make sure that cycle was broken early.
You did an excellent job, by the way. Excellent job. So with your girls, you said that you were naturally more protective.
Yes.
And with your boys, was it the same, or were you harder on them? Like, where do they say that you were harder on them, the boys and the girls? Like, what?
All my kids say I yell.
Okay.
Everybody say I yell. Yeah. So they never really got real whoopings or nothing, but the yelling, I guess, was a little bit different. Pitch probably was a little bit higher.
Right.
The boys I would be more tougher on, because like I said, I wanted them to be men. I didn't raise no, half and not no disrespect to anybody, but I just raised men growing up. And of course, naturally, I was a little bit harder on them just because of, they had to protect their sister. So I had them, and then I had all these ladies coming in, all these ladies. And then I had a baby, which is my youngest daughter. So I got the 4 boys in the middle, and then they got the sisters on the side. Just protection. Yeah, the boys was all right, because I can be a little bit tougher on them and show them how to treat these girls. So even to this day, my sons grew up. My daughters will stop by the door. My boys open the door. They look at each other like, start talking crazy to each other, but they already know what the deal is. So they've grown up. And mind you, I have 3 kids by my older children's mother, and then I got 4 by another. So I was able to raise all of them at one time, growing up here in Atlanta. So I tell people it wasn't a coincidence. I made sure that everybody was here with me. My son by Demetria, he's from Cincinnati. So everybody, we all had to, populate right here. So they've all grew up together, so they've all got the same treatment. Pretty much.
That's really good.
Yeah, it is. I want to come back to you. I want Adia to answer this, but I want to come back to you because Adia told a really funny story about her sons and puberty and, going and, talking about their first times and all of that. So I want to get your experience perspective on that too, real quick. But Adia, difference between the boys and your girl in the preteen years. Because wait, she's in her preteen years now, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Mhm.
So I'm the opposite of Andre. I have 3 boys, and then my girl is the youngest.
Mhm.
Um, I will say that I think I'm harder on my girl, and I don't know because Andre said he was harder on his boys. I don't know if it's a same sex parent type thing,
Yeah.
or it could be, I'm very hard on her because I'm like, you're a Black woman in America. Like, we gotta, you have to work harder. You have to be better. It's not fair, but it's the world we live in. So I think I'm much harder on her as far as like schoolwork. Um, just getting things done. Because I know what it is to be a Black woman in America. I don't know what it is to be a Black man in America. So, my husband takes the lead on that with the boys.
Right.
I
Right.
will say that as I had my first child at 22, which it's fairly young. I think that he got the brunt of my bluntness.
Mhm.
So, and now he's 24, and that is my dog. Like, that is my best friend. We can talk about anything, nothing's off limits. But I think growing up, as I look back, you know how we talk about as parents, we look back and it's like, maybe I didn't do that the right way.
Right.
I think that because I was young having him as my first child, I didn't know what to do with a little boy. Like Andre, I didn't have my father in my life either. So I didn't have an example. And then me and his father broke up before he was even born. So his father wasn't a big influence in his life. I think I was so like blunt and just told it like it is to him. And I don't think that I handled that necessarily properly, because a lot of things that I would say to him, looking back now, mentally, he just wasn't prepared. He wasn't, he just wasn't cognitively there to understand things that I was saying to him. But for a good example, which I wish I could go back and change, I never let him believe in Santa, like the tooth fairy. I never did that. I was like, no, a fat white man did not come down this chimney and leave this. Your mother worked hard.
These gifts.
Your mother worked hard to get these presents for you. There is no tooth fairy. When you go to sleep, I grab the tooth and I leave you. But looking back, I'm like, man, I feel like I took that imagination and that like childlike thing from him.
Yeah.
In me wanting to just be like, no, this is the way the world is, instead of letting him be a child. So that's one of the things I would have changed. As far as boys and girls and being different, I'm not sure. The jury's still out for me. I still haven't really, I don't know if it's boys and girls are different or if it's the age at which you had those boys and girls. I think I'm a different parent. There's a big difference between my first child at 22 and then my last child being at 34 and me having a parenting experience before her. I don't know if it's the fact that she's a girl or it's the fact that I was more mature and had some life experiences to like change the scope of my parenting. Because I'm definitely a different parent from my oldest to my youngest, and they're one's a boy and one's a girl. So the jury's still out for me. I don't know if it's like a gender thing, the age of me, my maturity. I don't know. What do you think?
I wonder because old school parenting, like our parents and our grandparents, made a big difference about gender. And I wonder if it's generationally we've kind of timed out on not entirely, you know what I'm saying? But there are certain things that we're a little bit more flexible on, or that we don't want to put anyone in any boxes in terms of what they're capable of or not capable of. We want to empower the girls as much as we are empowering the boys in whatever way. So maybe that changed some things. But you bring up a really good point about the age that you are as a parent and how that may change who you were and how you reared them, the things that were important or not important. Maya and Kaya came up together. It was the same thing. Like, they got the same mama. They were only 2 years apart. So there wasn't really a difference. I noticed my parenting changing over time, but I think that was more because of where they were in their, who they were at the ages that they were. You can't parent the same you do as a toddler as you do, a preteen. So I don't really know if it had anything to do with the differences in gender or just, their age difference as well. What do you think, Andre?
I do want to go back real quick and say that raising the girls initially, like I say, they were the first two oldest, and their family was Muslim, so it made it a lot easier for me to be more protective of them, because of course, which the mothers and their family had practiced. So I kind of made it a point to be real kind of stricter a little bit with them growing up, because I didn't have my boys till much, years later. And then when I did have my boys, I had a stretch of boys. All the boys came first, and then my daughter at the end. Mm-hmm. So, their mother was definitely a big instrumental part. I think I've had good co-parenting for the most part, than I have, than doing it by myself.
Right.
Right.
So your girls came up in a tradition where there were some boundaries on already in place. So that was for you saying, in the traditional way in which men are usually harder or more protective of their children, they were already a part of that culture.
So it made it more easy for me to fall in line.
There was already like a blueprint for parenting based on that.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like, obviously, like there are demographics, like your race, your religion, your parenting situation, age. There's a lot of things that go into the preteen years anyway. Because I didn't even think about that. When you have that religion, their structure, especially like Islam, like you don't really have to think about it. Like it's already like,
There's already a pattern, within my family. Every time, when I went over there, or just the whole thing, even though I went through some changes, but it was because I had, of course, because of the lifestyle that I was living, it had to balance and mix in with all of that. I had to humble myself a lot, to make sure that for the better, the better of the kids and stuff like that. So it was different.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And then when I moved to Georgia and started having the other four, they were raised Christian. So it was always having to maintain a balance with the kids, and everybody I would go to the mosque, I would go to the church, we would all intermingle. So it was always some peace there between both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can navigate that pretty smoothly too. There didn't seem to be a lot of tension around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty profound. Okay, so are we ready to move into a couple of things around the teenage years? And and we touched on this a little bit with the first episode. I think me and Maya got into a little debate around guidance versus dictating, either or both, and why. And I'll let you guys speak to that. Where do you feel it's one or the other, or is it both? And when and why? In raising your teenagers, are you more guidance based, or are you more dictating based, or is it a combination of the two?
I'll answer that and say that my oldest, it was more dictatorship.
Mm-hmm.
My youngest, it's more guidance.
Mm-hmm.
How do you define the two?
So I define the two with my oldest is do as I say because I said it. Where my youngest, it's do what I say and this is why.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that there's value in both. And that the last podcast we talked about, I forget who said it, but we're talking about like running out in the traffic. So you want your kids to say, look, you can't run out in the street. But you don't have time if you're in a real life situation. You don't have time to say, you can't run in the street because you might get hit by a car and then, you could die or you could lose a limb and blah, blah, blah. Like, you don't have time for that. It's like, no, don't do that because I said so.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that, so in that case, I feel like there's value in both. Now, before I came on, I was listening, and something that Maya said is, LaShanta, when they were younger, you were saying, this is what I need you to do and just trust me.
Mhm.
And I think that there's value in that, because that's kind of sort of like dictating, but it's giving you like, not just because I said it, there's a reason, but I don't have time to just trust me on this right now. And then you can go back later and kind of explain.
Right.
So
And
with my older
like,
two,
I'm not gonna tell you what to do, but I got you.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
right,
It has more of a
right.
trust
my heart with
And
that.
it has to be a
yeah.
trust. Yeah,
Right.
there has to be a trust there. Like, my mom is telling me this for a reason. I trust her. So I'm just gonna, even though I don't understand, I trust my mom.
Mhm.
So with my older two, I think that I didn't do that. I think it was more so, I'm your mom. This is what I said, so you do it because I'm your mom.
Mhm.
You know, and with my younger two, I do more explaining. And it's so funny because with the older two, they'll be like, well, if I would have questioned you, like, that would have been an issue. Like, who are you? And why
Mhm.
are you letting Amari ask why? And like, my older would say that all the time, like, you really ask mom why? Like, for him, it was like, you don't question mom. Mom said what she said, and you just do it. And Amari is the queen of the why. Well, why, mom? Why are we doing it like this? Why? Well, but what happens if I don't do it like this? Like, she's the queen of, and I'm always explaining, where my older boys will look at me like, what? Like, this was never my life. Like, this was never okay for me to question why you were saying something or why we were doing something. And I think that has to do also with just me maturing as a parent. But like, I think that y'all hit the nail on the head, where there has to be a trust there. Because
Yeah.
even with right now, sometimes I can say, don't ask me no questions, just do it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was
And
gonna
I
say that.
feel like in the teenage years, I think there's not really that need for dictatorship anymore, because you should be able to communicate the whys. Like, there's a point where there's a lapse in communication, but in the teenage years, it should definitely be more guidance than dictatorship. Otherwise, it's literally going to make them, mom, you were more of a guidance at this point, but otherwise, it's going to make them like rebel and not want to listen, because it's like, for what?
Yeah.
Right.
And my youngest is just hitting preteen. She's 12. So she's just entering the I've lost my mind stage. So we're just getting.
It starts around 11-ish. It does. It starts around 11-ish now.
She's just getting into that, like, she's losing her mind. She thinks I've lost my mind.
Yeah.
You know? And so everyone that has girls, because I don't remember going through that with my boys, to be honest.
I was about to ask that.
Really
I don't see that.
remember that.
Wait a minute. I do remember. So I wondered about that. Is this just a girl thing? But I remember a friend of mine some years ago making a post on Facebook, and it was so honest and sincere. And she was like, y'all. And her child went to a school that I taught at in Denver many years ago. So I remembered him. And she was just like, came to the community like, I don't know what to do. Like, he's losing his mind. And it sounded, he was entering that temporary insanity phase. And I remember saying to her, like, it's okay. This is normal. Like, he's not abnormal. This is on par for that age. Be firm, but also be loving and nurturing. He's gonna come around he's gonna come out of it on the other side. Like, he will come out of it, but continue. Don't try to be his little friend though. Don't slip and get exhausted, because you can get exhausted and just be like, forget it. I throw in the towel, I give up. I'm just gonna be your friend. No, still hold to your boundaries, but still be nurturing, and loving and all of that stuff. And he'll come around. So
did
I'm
you
saying,
guys,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, did you guys feel like there was a point where you had to really hard stop being a friend and be more like, strict, because it was such a big difference? Like, was there an age range where you were like, all right, I gotta put the friend hat off because this is a little bit more real?
I think it was situational.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it was situational. What do you think, Andre? Were you friends?
So for me,
You always been kind of.
yeah. So for me, I've been dictator until they get to an age where I can start guiding. Say, so for instance, sports, organizations and things that they can start picking up on, and then it goes back to it fluctuates. It goes back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Just depending on the stage, the age, where they at. So most of my boys, I went through the dictatorial thing, and then I've had to let them, guide them into some of these organizations, some of these different things. And then now it's back to you got to do this. Just do it now. Don't question me. Just, So it fluctuates for me, for a father, for me.
Okay.
And with the girls now, they're much older. So it's a lot of guidance. And, I listen a lot more. They used to say I yell. Now they love me because I listen a lot more. When it's time to come get the baby, the grandbaby, I come do it. I'm relaxed now.
Now they're dictating.
Yes. No, they're dictating. Exactly. Yep, the reverse. So, yeah.
I remember a specific situation with Kaya where she was going to high school. Remember, you're going to Well Branch, and they had that the program where you go in your first 2 years. You're in the early college program.
Yeah.
So the first 2 years paid for, college classes. All she had to do was just take a entrance exam like you do when you're going to college, and she didn't want to do it. She wanted to be in the general population with her peoples, kicking it. And I was like,
that was my last 2 years. That was my last 2 years. I went to Beaufort High first.
So it was your last two? Yes, it was your last 2 years.
Well Branch.
Yeah. And Well Branch is why you were transferring
early college.
Exactly. And that was a moment where I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to pull the card on this one. Like, you will thank me later. You know what I'm saying? But you about to take this test, and you're gonna enroll in these classes, and you will thank me later. And she did, but she really didn't want to do it. And I was like, are you kidding me right now? You don't have to pay for anything. She'll come out of high school with 2 years of college courses done.
So Kai, how did you feel? Did you feel like she didn't love you? Was you mad? How did you feel then?
Honestly, I don't remember that. I remember not wanting to do it because I remember taking them and getting all those credits and how I felt afterwards, but I don't remember the initial not wanting to do it.
So there you go.
Sour face, but afterwards,
I feel like that probably just had to do with because my first 2 years of high school was kind of rough, so I feel like maybe just that was I don't know. Maybe some of the 2 years probably had to do with my initial decision and like, I don't.
It was, I think, with you were kind of communicating because it would have put you in different classes from your friends, and you didn't want to be separated out like that. And I was just like, yeah.
One thing that kids don't understand is how much your school really sets you up in life. Like, we don't really understand that the real world, I mean, there are ways around it as well, but that your grades do matter, like, because life is real. Or just like listening and paying attention to things about after school. When you guys say like, well, when you graduate, it'll be like this. We don't really even understand the concept of that, to take it seriously. I don't know. I didn't. Maybe some kids do, but I definitely did not.
I didn't either. I didn't. We all thought we were really grown, right, Andre? We thought we was grown.
Well, y'all were.
Maya and Kaya says that we really were, though. We were the grown generation. We were raising ourselves.
That's kind of true, though. We were the grown generation. Like, I agree with that statement to an extent.
We can do things that you would not let your kids do at all ever right now.
Right.
We was, my mom used to tell me. My mom used to tell me I used to go across 32nd and when I was in kindergarten going to Barrett. Cross 32nd across the whole busy 32nd and catch the bus.
That's like 3 lanes on each
5 years old, yeah.
Yeah, crazy traffic. Just wild.
Yeah, by myself. She sent me on the bus to California on a Greyhound by myself. I probably couldn't have been no more than 8 years old. But I was like a grown little kid or something. I don't know. I question her to this day. I'm like, Mom, what was you thinking? Like you was my partner. You was like my little homeboy. She had me when she was young. So it was, some of these things.
But that's true. I remember going out on my bike and being towns over from my house.
Yeah.
And we didn't have cell phones. So it's not like your mom could just call you.
Right.
Out there in the world.
I was already
now we don't want to let our kids out the house without seeing their location.
Right.
That's why I just said I literally was Googling like GPS jewelry to put on Sahir when he gets older. Like, but hopefully there's an implant at that point because the world is crazy. Like, I just
really on the extreme.
But the world has changed a lot.
Crazy. Like, I remember when Yeah, we've lost, like, kids get lost, you know, you get worried, like, let's just save all that. Where you
Yeah.
Implant, I already know where you are. Because back in the day, we were able to explore and make mistakes and recover pretty well. To go out there and do all the stupid stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and now I don't. It's not
Why
a
is it different?
It's not safe.
It take a
It's
long
Because I
time
think you
to
guys'
recover.
freedom, having that freedom made you guys very self-sufficient adults. And that's the issue that we have nowadays, is a lot of people were shielded and coddled, and it's getting more and more. So it's like, okay, do we give them freedom and let them make their own choices and let them learn, or not? Because, you know,
Yeah, I think that it's changing how we have to look at that now. Who's this? Brittany says, my kids could never handle the responsibility or freedom I had growing up. Facts. Like
I agree.
at all.
It's
At
scary.
all.
Yeah.
It is
It
scary.
is scary.
It's scary.
It's just.
I think the consequences are different too from my
Yes.
generation to like my children's
Thank
generation.
you.
My
The
consequences weren't as severe as they are for my children. I don't recall my mom, and I could be wrong. I don't ever recall her when I started driving and stuff having the conversation of what to do when you get stopped. But yet I have that conversation with my kids when they started driving. So the consequences they're just more severe for the
I
next
remember
generation.
telling Maya that when she was growing up, trying to explain why in her decision making, I was like, well, when you were in kindergarten, the risks of certain things, it just wasn't, if you made a mistake, what? I mean, you know, what were the parameters? What were the things that you were doing? If you made a mistake, the consequences wouldn't really be that bad. But if you're in high school and you make a mistake, those consequences are a lot greater than if you were in elementary school. And so, you know, you have to kind of measure it that way. But now, like you're saying, Adia, man, yeah, it's a lot more going on.
So do you guys think this is a unique experience because of our demographic? Like, do you wonder if that type of parenting and being a little bit more like protective now as a like community is because of the state of the world towards Black Americans?
Yeah, well, I believe that, and I blame this solely on the parents, the way our children are right now. It falls directly on the parents to where our kids are accessible to everything. You know, we don't spend a lot more. We don't spend enough time when they're, you know, playing video games and doing all this, you know, on your phone all day long, you know, doing all this extra stuff with them, you know, without teaching them or spending some time doing some of them old value things with them. I think we've kind of lost, we're behind in that, you know, as far as our youth now and our, you know, and it's going to be hard to catch up. It's not unique. It's happened before. It's happened for generations and generations. It's just now is just the time is televised. You know, we can see it happening through social media and through all these different channels. And, you know, all the violence, like I live in Atlanta. I'm here in Atlanta. It's unbelievable how much stuff I see every day with the youth. I mean, just doing the most. You know, I see them out just in the streets just all the time. And our parents is not, we got too much. We're too spoiled. We got too much here and there. We got everything at our foot, begging you need, you know, and we forget about, we got children there and they just think, well, they'll look at the phone. They'll do this, you know.
Yeah, it's like we're substituting the hands-on parenting with the devices and the materialistic things.
Pacifying.
That's become parenting now.
Because parenting naturally happens when they're not in front of a phone, but you don't even think about that. You know,
or what I can give you and get you, like the clothes, the gadgets, whatever is taking place of us just having, you know, time together. Yeah.
A good example of that, my husband and I were having this conversation with our second son. We had a moment where we just looked at each other and was like, what is happening? So we used to punish him by making him go outside and play. That was a punishment to him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Whereas for me growing up, if I couldn't go outside and play, that was like, what do you mean I can't go outside? Like that was the punishment. I can't go outside.
Wow.
But for him, It was like, no.
My children come over my house. If they sleep past a certain time, the blinds come straight open.
That was me. That was
day.
girls.
It's open. I don't like especially one of my young men. You ain't gonna be sleeping on my couch all day long. Time to get up. Period. Time to get up. Do something. You know. So
there's really couch bums out there.
Right. Here's a question. What would your children say is probably the most annoying and helpful element of your parenting?
During teenage years, right?
No, just what? Oh, okay, yeah.
Teenage.
Okay, whatever.
So yeah, teenage.
Like I say, they say I yell,
Yeah,
but I don't whoop them. You know, so they're more afraid of my voice than they are a belt.
I think that's a lot of men. What would they say is the most helpful element of your parenting?
Consistency.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm there when.
Okay, now probably with the consistency
to the end. I've been there. Yeah,
reliable.
I've not left. Anytime you need me, first day of school, last day of school, graduation, birth, all that I'm there.
So. I know that's right.
I think my kids would say the most helpful and annoying at the same time thing would be my honesty. I'm extremely honest. And sometimes you don't want to hear it. Like sometimes you really just don't want to hear the truth.
Yep.
But I think that's one of the things that even looking back. So I just had my third son move all the way across the country to Florida. Hurt my heart. But he sent me something on Instagram and I was like, oh, it was like a woman talking. You couldn't hear the conversation, but he was like, you could tell the woman was like really being stern with her child. Mm-hmm. He was like, when mom's delivery isn't always the best, but her message is. Like, this is you. Like your deliveries might not be the best. But he was like, now that your message, I might not like the way you said it. But what you said was what I needed to hear. And I was like, oh.
I know. Years. Well,
so I think for me it'd be honesty.
Both on both sides. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's cool. Well, Maya and Kai, I guess you guys can
what would be the most?
This is awkward. No.
That you don't be listening.
I don't listen.
You don't be
when I'm like
that you don't be listening sometimes. Like she be acting like she be listening. She don't be listening. That's probably the most.
Like we'll be on the phone in like 5 minutes after I'm just talking, and then she'll be like, she won't even tell you she's checked out. Like, cause she'll just not be listening.
That's what it is, to be more specific. She don't let you know that she's checked out. So you over here just going in, talking, and she don't care.
But then when you try to check in with her, like, hey, are you listening? She's like, yeah, I just want to make sure. Yeah. Like, you don't understand why we're trying to double check.
I asked you to run something back, and I got you though.
Those times, but you have to make sure. Like Kyle got mad at me because like I'll ask her a question and she doesn't respond right away or respond. I'm like, hello. She's like, why do you do that? I said, well, because mom has me thinking that if there's not an immediate response, you're not listening. So.
I ain't got bad.
Okay.
But that would be the
That's Kaya's answer though.
Oh yeah, I think that would be mine. What for sure is mine.
When I call her and she texts me like I'm gonna call you right back. That's
my goodness! No, listen.
So annoying. That's the only annoying thing. Like that should be a good thing. That's the only annoying thing because I'm
they call and say I'm gonna call you back. They don't like that. If I don't answer every time they call.
Mom, and I'm not gonna lie, it happened yesterday too. And I will say you're probably one of the you probably answer the phone like the least.
Me?
Yes, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes, or it'll be like, yeah, I'm gonna call you back. Like it's majority of times it's like I'm gonna call you back. Like
and that's crazy because you guys call me all the time. So I think your perception of this is skewed.
We don't call her like 5 times a day. I do call her
all the time.
It's not gonna change, LaShanta. I'm 47 years old, and I still to this day, when my mom doesn't answer, I'm like, well, what could you possibly be doing that you might call?
Times, and I responded 2 of those 8 times that I will call you back. Like,
Yeah, it's not gonna change.
On the phone and say, I need to go, I need to get off. They have attitudes. Okay.
No, I don't.
No, you don't. Maya does.
Yeah, that's her. That's Maya.
It's not gonna change. I do too. Like, what? Who else is more important than talking to me?
But what else would you be doing with your day? It can wait.
You're my mom. Who else can you be?
I want
like
to tell you
rushing
about
off
my
the phone?
toenail colors. Like, I want to tell you.
And that's Maya.
But
But
it's not talking about nothing for real.
Maya Kaya be walking through a store. She just wants me to weigh in on what she's buying. Like,
Yeah, that's
it's not an emergency.
It's not an emergency. I just need you in the store to help me decide between this towel and this towel.
This towel and this towel.
Yeah, no,
Oh
seriously.
my God.
You're like, it's some of it on my phone.
I'll be out of the country and they'll be like, Mom, where do I find such and such in TJ Maxx? Why are you calling me? There's people there that you should ask. I don't understand.
No, I tell them all the time, like, they're my chat GPT. That they're my Google, they're my chat GPT. Anytime I got a question, anytime I need a decision, like, they don't
Now when she asks a question, I'm like, Kaya, that's a great question for ChatGPT. I'm not expending my energy.
Like, you guys are my ChatGPT. Y'all are my ChatGPT.
No.
That would have been one of my yelling times. My daughter called me by the towel. What are you calling me for? That would have been one of them times.
So sometimes I'm like, can I call you back? Okay, because I'm alive. Lord, I tell you.
Okay,
right.
But the most helpful.
Mm-hmm. Well, then we're gonna move into young adult and then get into our game.
Yeah, so for helpful, I think, which is contradictory, is that you're always there and you're always.
Yeah, what?
It's contradictory because the most helpful thing is that she really is always there. Like, she's so present in my life.
Yeah.
So, maybe it's not annoying if you don't answer the phone every now and then. But what's annoying is that you don't think that we're best friends. That's what's annoying.
Okay, so I have learned to embrace that recently.
Okay.
But here's we're going to talk about this real quick. So it dawned on me because Maya's always like, yeah, she calls me for everything, and we talk about like everything all the time. And then I was like, well, she was mentioning how she didn't tell her friends about all these wonderful things she had going on this past year. And I was like, how do your friends not know that? Like, why did you tell them that you were a part of this exhibit and that you painted and that your stuff sold and that you, like, how do they not know this? And then I was like, that's why you're on the phone with me all the time, because you don't talk to your friends about this stuff. You only talk to me. I was like, you need to really look at your friendships. Like, these are things why aren't you sharing these highlights of your life with them? And then she was like, well, Mom, because you're my best friend. And I was like, I don't know if that's the healthiest. Like, I think.
So for a week after that, she didn't answer my calls. Or she would keep it quick.
Wow.
She had commitment. She had a commitment phobe moment because she was like,
no, that's not what it was. That's not what it was. I think you need to lean into more to letting people who want to be there for you be there for you.
That's true.
Why aren't you utilizing your really close friendships like that?
That's
How
true.
do they not know?
And I did. I started doing that.
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah.
Okay.
We worked that out. All right. So we're going to talk really briefly about one thing in the young adult phase. And that is learning to keep a close bond without overstepping. I think that we've all experienced that, where it's like they're making their decisions for themselves. You want to still provide some guidance, but you don't want to overstep. You don't want to be too pushy, and you have to kind of let them learn. What do you guys think about that, Andre, Adia?
So that's very interesting question or comment. I find it harder as them being young adults to really say anything. Yelling doesn't get the job done because they're grown. Guiding is, if they want to do it, they may or may not. I may want to be a plumber. If I don't feel like doing it, I'm not going to do it. Right. So it's to the point to where I don't get mad. I think I let them, so to speak, bump their head if I feel that something is, okay, you're going to just do it. You're not going to listen to me. So I'm going to let you go ahead and go through it. You know, I think I found that kind of helpful and beneficial because now more they more or less come to me at times. My son called me from the Philippines. He's about to have a baby girl. He lives in the Philippines. He's been there for 4 years. So 4 years. Ain't came back. Ain't even touched foot in the country.
We don't blame him.
So he called me and said, "Dad, I've heard everybody's perspective." He said, "What's it like raising a child? I'm about to have a child. Tell me about it." The whole thing. So we had a nice 2-3 hour conversation about just raising kids, you know, and things like that. And it was nice. I didn't have to really dictate or, you know, tell him too much. You know, I just kind of let him do his thing.
Yeah.
You know, and it worked out. He came, in other words, he came back to me after we had our issues. As you know, he went to the Navy. We had our little spats and fights and stuff like that. I just let him do his thing, and he came back. You know, so I think eventually they get it. Just like y'all mentioned earlier, how, you know, Mom said you should have listened to me, or I told you so, or it was going to happen. You know, you listened to me now, or it came true at the end. You know, I think now that they, you know, as young adults, I'm seeing that they see that a lot.
They see that.
Yeah.
And then kudos to you too that he wanted your advice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was very humbling.
A lot.
Yeah. It made me feel real good.
Yeah.
Aww.
For me, my husband and I have had this conversation. You raise your kids and you want them to go out and be successful, and you want to raise humans that can survive and be on their own and just be good people.
Mm-hmm.
But then when that time comes, for me, it was like an internal struggle because I don't want my baby to leave. Like, you know, it's like we raise you to be independent, and then when you become independent, it hurts a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So my 19-year-old just, like I said, moved clear across the country to Florida, and it hurt. But I was like, at the same time, I'm like, I'm proud of him for following his dreams, putting a plan together, executing his plan. But at the same time, it's like, but really, you had to go across the country? You had to go that far away from me? So when I talk to other people, they're like, oh, good job, Mom. And I wasn't feeling the good job, Mom. Like, that's not what I was feeling.
Right.
Good job, Mom. Like, your son is out there. He's on his own. Like, he's living on his own. He's paying his own bills. He's doing his own thing. He's not depending on
well. You prepared him well. Yeah.
And that's what people were saying to me. And I'm like, but I really just want him to come home. Like, I really want him to come back, because for so long you spend so much of your life caring for, protecting, watching over, and then they go away, and it's like, well, now what do I can't protect you in Florida. You know, I can't, I'm not, so I mean, I will help him if he needed help, but it's not like he's home where if he needs help, I can help him immediately.
Yeah.
So that's been a transition. I think as a parent, you transition from raising your children to them taking the lessons, either taking them or not, taking them, but they do their own thing, and you kind of just have to live with it. Now, I have another son that moved out in a completely different circumstance. And my husband and I had to just basically say, we have to let him experience this and just be here to help him up when he falls.
Right.
Because it's one of those things where as a parent, you know I know what you're doing is not going to end well.
You know.
But you have to experience that for yourself, because I can talk to them blue in the face, but you're not going to get it until you experience it.
Yeah.
So then I have to set myself up to say, okay, we're going to see how this plays out. And the most I can do is just, when you fall, make sure our relationship is in a place where you're comfortable enough to say, hey, I need help. And then me be there to help you.
Yeah.
I think, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Andre.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Fish. I'm sorry.
It's one of those weird, like, you prepare your kids, but I don't think as a parent you're ever truly prepared for them to leave. It's like one day they just kind of leave and you're stuck to be like, okay, well, now what? Like now, you know, what do I do? And it's kind of the same feeling as when I first brought my first son, particularly when I brought him home from the hospital. I remember sitting, looking at him, and he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and we're both looking at each other like, now what? What do we do now? And it was that same feeling when they moved out. But now I'm just looking at myself like, okay, well, now what? What do I do? Like, I've been a parent for so long where I've been day to day, and now I'm not day to day, so I don't know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember that a little bit when the girls were contemplating where they were going to move. I think this was like pre-COVID, around COVID time. And people were posting all of they're excited their children are going off to do this, and yeah, congratulations for this. And then I posted, I was like, I'm having a hard time getting there. Like I don't know. Like I'm excited one moment, and then the next I'm just like I'm having a lot of conflicting emotions and feelings about this. Like I want them to go out and I want them to do well, and then I'm really sad about it too. Like this is changing the dynamic of our relationship, and I don't know what to do. I literally don't know what to do. And they're like, bye. Don't be so happy about it too. Like
I was just telling my friend a little bit ago how I feel like my co-parenting situation kind of gave me an advantage in that situation, because like my son goes to his dad 3 days a week. So in the beginning, I had those hard feelings of like, I don't know, like, you know, like I can't take care of you. I can't, and like, you know, like we're separating, like, and I get time to myself to figure out who I am 3 days a week. And so I feel like when time does come for him to go to college, it's not going to be that like, you know, for when it's time for him, because I already had to get used to him being out of my like my nest in a sense, because he is out in the world 3 days a week, and I don't know what, you know,
That's
like
good.
I don't know. I gotta
Yeah, that's
trust,
good.
and I have to trust that I had to build that already now. So I know it'll still be a little different, but I won't be like confused because I'm kind of used to it now.
yeah, that's true.
yeah. And another thing we've decided as parents, matters of the heart we stay out of with our
Mm.
kids.
Mm.
Like as far as who they're dating, who they love. There has been some girlfriends, and I'm just like, but I can't say that to them. You know, I'm always going to be respectful. I'm always going to be cordial.
Yeah, that's
But
another bump your head moment.
I'm like,
I'm giving my opinion.
Yeah, that's another
And
bump your head moment.
I'm giving
I
my
feel
opinion.
like matters of the heart I have to stay out of, because I feel like if I push too hard, I'm gonna push you toward what I don't want you to go
Yeah, that's
I
true.
don't push either way, but if if there an alarm goes off, I'm telling them. I'm gonna tell them. I'm gonna say there's an alarm here. This is what I'm seeing. This is what it is. I'm gonna be there one way or the other, and I'm going to treat their partner, their person, with respect and love and kindness. But if I see something and it's an alarm, I'm gonna tell them. I'm gonna tell them. Yeah, they don't know.
I don't know. I struggle with that part of it, and I think the struggle comes from when I was younger. If my mom, okay, moment of transparency, there was an older man that I was dating as a teenager, and looking back now, I'm like, Mom, why didn't you put your foot down? Like, no. This guy is way too old. And my mom said, I felt like if I would have done that, it would have pushed you closer to him. So I just let it play out, and eventually you learned.
Right.
So that has always kind of stuck with
That
me
makes
with
sense,
my
though.
kids.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you know, there's some people that I know they ain't got no business being with for whatever reason.
Oh, absolutely. Maya and Kaya have had relationships, and I knew the relationship continues, but I'm gonna let you know what I see. And I'm not
It's so hard.
leave the relationship because I know you're not going to, because I understand the complexities of that myself. I've been in relationships where I see the red flags and the sirens blaring, and I'm like, I need to walk myself out of this.
So
But
if they're about to get married to these people, though, is that when you would interfere?
Oh, right there. You're not interfering.
No. I just learned to just stay out of those things. Like I said, that's a bump your head moment, because they have to learn. I may initially say something, but again, they don't. It's not gonna. They're gonna do what they want to do.
They're dead set on it. What can you do? And they'll probably resent you in the process.
Well, I've not said anything.
Their moment, like
yeah. My oldest son was having issues with somebody he was dating. Everybody was mad, but like I told him, you love who you love, son, and be done with it. Don't worry about what anybody else say. I'm not about to say nothing, and whatever happens, that's you have to deal with it. As a man, you make your bed and you lie in it.
Yeah. So. And I think for the girls, like I'm gonna tell them what I see, because again, I think we talked about this in the last podcast. At least if something comes up, they're tracking now as well, and that can protect them and save their girls. So it's a little different too, or women, excuse me, young women. And so that may be, my reasoning for that. Like, and even if they end up staying with these people, here's some things y'all need to work on. I'll say out the gate, neither one of y'all are relationship ready. I'll tell them, like, neither one of y'all need a relationship.
You're not ready. There was one guy that I thought I was serious with. And my mom, I was like, so mom, what do you think? And she was like, That was the extent of the conversation. She had nothing else to say but And then when it ended, I could go back to that. And I was like, she really just didn't want it. She wanted to stay out of it. She wanted to just, she had anything positive or negative to say. It was just,
But her hint was enough though.
It was enough.
You'd be like, wait a minute now.
I'm like, well, what? Like,
it was enough to make me say, well, what does that mean?
What does that mean? Right. And now you're looking a little bit more intently. I just want to add one more thing before we go into our game. With the girls in this stage, I did find a place of joy in letting them be themselves. And you guys would make decisions and do things that I was like, this is not how I raised you. Like, I don't even understand what this is. However, I know their personalities and I respect who they are, who they see themselves as, and their freedoms and liberties that they take and their strengths that they have. And I had to find, and I felt okay with that. Like, I know that this is really who she is. And she has some, there's liberation in this that she expresses. There's strength in this that she expresses. It might not be anything that I would ever think of doing myself, or that I would find,
what you talking about? What do we do?
Right. No, like you might as well just say the example, because I'm feeling.
No, there's several. I mean, there's just stuff. Where I'm just like, it's not all extreme. It's just
young adulthood. Are you talking about teenage years?
No,
young adulthood. She's talking about within the past 2 years right now. She's talking about recently.
3, 4, 5.
All right.
Also,
we'll table that.
You know what? I can't, because I remember being a young adult and I remember making some decisions that I actually felt capable in those, and I learned my lessons and I was okay. And like you guys were saying, it's a situation where if I push too hard, I'm only going to get resistance. And so what am I supposed to do? Like, it doesn't make any sense for me to protest too loud and then they move further away. So I'd rather them be open with me about everything than not be. And so, yeah, I just found joy in it. Like, okay, cool. That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited that my children are a lot more open with me as well. It took a while, just go, as they were growing up, doing their own different things. Still in Atlanta, everybody's still here, but everybody had their own agendas, own schedules. I felt less needed, at times, so I had to find my own life.
Yes, every children.
That's true.
Yeah.
For real. When they stop coming by as much, when they supposed to every time, and as a father, you look forward to that after all them years. And like I say, once it start happening, I'm like, all right, let me change my schedule now.
Yeah,
my life.
That is so true.
I became a digital nomad. I left the country for 4 years. I was like, What do I do with myself
Right.
now? Like, I don't even know. And I was explaining to I was like, you guys have to give me a little bit of grace because my identity was a mother. I
Yeah.
had children at
Yeah.
21 and 23, and my identity was a mother. I grew up in motherhood. And so when you guys decided to become independent, I really didn't, it was weird. That was weird because the things that motivated me weren't even there anymore. And so I'm like, what do I want to do? No, really, what motivates me to organize around? What am I even organizing around? I was like, shoot, let me go abroad to figure myself out.
Eat, pray, love.
No, it's a transition that I don't think we don't talk enough about it, so we're not really equipped for it. You know, the surprise of it. All right, y'all. Let's get into this game. Who's Maya, Kai? Which one of y'all gonna facilitate this process for us?
I thought you weren't that, but hold on. Let me see.
I just want to say I'm very proud of y'all.
So
You know, y'all getting on here talking and bonding and spitting that game and knowledge and stuff like that is wonderful. I love it.
Thank you.
I was the first time I seen you about to start this. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. Me and Tubby talk about it all the time.
Yeah. Yes. All right.
Okay, I can go. All right, so we got 3 different rounds of this. Okay, it's just gonna be this or that, and you just answer. Okay, this is in terms of parenthood. The first round is gonna be a little bit more light, and then we'll get into like some more serious like topics. So we'll just kind of like answer, and then we'll move on. So okay, this or that, matching outfits that make sense, or letting them wear what they want when they're children.
What you mean, like
if they want to get themselves like when they're in like elementary,
wear what they want,
and they want to dress themselves, but it doesn't match.
Oh, you're talking, okay. I thought you meant like your kids matching each other.
No.
Oh, us matching each other?
No, the children. You just let them wear what they want.
Let them want to wear
are
to
you
an
letting
extent.
themselves, basically?
To an extent.
I think that's a dad answer for real though, because dad would be like, "What you? They don't even be looking."
To an extent.
I'm not going for that. Like, you're not gonna have people judging me thinking that I judged you today.
Exactly, because when your child goes out the house looking crazy, the judgment is not on the child. It's like, why did your mother let you out the house like that?
Yeah.
The judgment isn't even on the father. Actually,
Yeah.
And said, why did your dad let you? It's always like, your mama let you out the house like that.
Yes. Yeah. She did it.
Okay, so would you guys rather pick this parenting battle? Your child is always having a messy room, or they always talk back to you?
Messy room all day.
Messy room all day.
I'm not going for no back talk.
Right. Messy room all day.
Yeah.
You should see how I look at them now when they try that. I'd be like, who is y'all talking? You must be getting punked or something.
Right. The game has not changed.
LOL. So would you guys, when you guys did your kids like discipline, would you rather ground them or tell them to lose their phone privileges?
Their phone, because grounding don't mean nothing no more. I just take that phone.
You're right, because
my older one's grounding.
All the time anyway.
My older one's grounding, and then my younger one's phone.
I get that phone.
Okay. Yeah, I think I graduated from grounding to losing phone privileges.
Yeah,
I would be grounded in my room with my books. She started taking my books eventually. I was like, bruh, all right.
Now I want you to enjoy any moment.
I literally just had to stare at the wall, like, okay. Okay, that was funny. Okay. All right. So, would you rather parent out loud, like process openly, or behind the scenes, like when you're deciding how to parent your kids and stuff?
What do you mean?
Like, so let's say like I'm trying to figure out how I want to go about the situation with my child. Am I gonna like talk through that decision with them, or am I gonna like think about it, take some time myself and then come back and like just do it? Like, am I walking them through the process of parenting, or just doing it?
I think I would would be figuring it out ahead of time and then coming to him. That was my habit.
I don't know. I think right now I parent out loud. Maybe not about how I parent, but just like I do parent out loud. Like I talk to him, like, this is what's kind of harmful in it. Like I process in front of him. But that's also because I'm trying to teach him how to talk. So
that's your personality, though, Maya. You process out loud. You kind of live out loud. So
yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Just like I guess, just depends on the child for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I got multiple personalities. So it just depends on
yeah. I think it depends on the child and the circumstance.
Okay.
Like, the severity of what we're going through.
Good point.
Because there's been times where I would say there's gonna be a punishment here. However, I don't know what that punishment is yet. So that's me kind of talking out loud. Like we're gonna handle this. I just gotta figure out how we're gonna handle this thing.
And that's definitely parenting out loud right there. Like, give me a second. I'm loading. Be prepared. Okay, this one's pretty interesting. So, would you rather model vulnerability or protect your authority?
That is a good one.
Rather.
Yeah, I'm the HNIC. So I have to protect the authority. Yeah. I'm sorry. That's just y'all got to know I'm bad, and that's it. We're not going back and forth.
Okay.
You want to hear about it? Yeah. That's my answer.
I think now I would model vulnerability. I think before I would choose the authority because it's a protection thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't need your question. I need you to, if I have to pull that card, I need you to fall on that. But now I can be, just on the moment. I think it depends.
I think it depends on the age.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
With my older ones, I think I would model vulnerability.
Okay.
With my younger ones, when they were coming up, I think it depends on the age. Because when you're super young, I don't think you even know what vulnerability is necessarily.
Yeah.
So they can't comprehend that anyway.
Appreciate it anyway. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. I can say that. Yeah.
I need to restructure my parenting. Apparently, like it's still early, but it's definitely giving no authority right now. Okay. So, would you rather? Okay.
Are we in round 2 yet?
You were in round 3. That was round 2.
Oh, okay.
We're just moving. We're moving forward. Round 3. This is getting a little serious. So let's say you this is real life stuff. Would you heal your inner child or focus on your child's needs? Because you don't usually have time to do both.
Would you say that again?
Heal your inner child or focus on your child's needs. Let's say like the beginning of parenthood.
I've had to make a decision. I had to focus on my child's needs first and maybe do some healing in between. But I couldn't fall apart and then not focus on my child's needs. Like,
I think as a parent, that's an automatic feeling or whatever it is. I think as a parent, that should be the number one thing. You focus on their needs because they're needy. Go ahead.
I do wonder if taking a second to like, what some people's inner childs are really wounded. Like, what if parenting with that wounded inner child is going to affect your child in a negative way, and you might need to really take that time to be a better parent for them and to, that type of thing. But I understand what you're trying to do.
I've seen people do that. Give their children to their parents, or
I was about to say,
a second to get my stuff together, and then that way, that may be beneficial.
I heal my inner child on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, and then I worry about my
You got a time frame.
Yes. I'm so dead ass about that. Like, I'm here Wednesday through Saturday. Okay. Okay. So, teach peace or prepare for conflict?
Ooh, prepare for conflict all day for me. Prepare for conflict. I need my kids. It doesn't mean you have to do it. I just want you to be prepared.
All day long. My kids noticed that that's one thing we do is we march, we rally. They already know. My son called me one day and asked me did I have a gas mask. I was like, yeah, sure, come get it. Go on back out there.
Yep.
Yeah, they was out there during them marches and rallies out here, the real ones.
Okay.
Yeah, he was he
Okay.
called me daddy, said, I'm out here. I said, okay. He's like they throwing gas. He said, you got the gas mask? I said, yeah, come on, get it. Come on,
Okay.
get
I'm
it.
gonna tell y'all a story. Maya and Kaya, this is for y'all. Tell y'all a story. LaShanta, I'm putting you on the spot.
I was listening, like, wait a minute, this sounds like she.
Yep, I'm putting you on the spot. I think Kaya was in either middle school or high school. I can't remember. It was when she was on like the flag thing or something with the band. So that was high school. There was somebody messing with Kaya. And I remember, sis, you and I were on the phone, and you were like, Maya's like in this protecting Kaya, and I really want Maya to step back and let Kaya kind of figure this. And I was like, no, I'm team Maya. That is her sister. Like, if Maya got to hop out the car and fight, so be it.
Oh, I remember that. That's why I fought that girl in the first place, because she bothered you, and I got beat up. But
that was a
then
whole.
you went and,
That was a
but then you
whole.
went and got my lick back for me. Yeah.
That
Oh,
was
I'm in a whole another state, just sitting on the phone, like, no, sis, I'm team
That's
Maya.
hilarious.
You just can't mess with somebody's little sister. You can't do that.
Yeah. That was the
what
time,
I think
Adia.
happening, what I remember very clear, because Maya, weren't you in like the hospital or something? You had a there was something else going on. There was
Before
something.
that?
Yeah, this was because it was a long time. This feud was extended.
Oh yeah, it was the whole time that I was in color.
So they were orchestrating this thing at the school where Kai was gonna run up on girl, but she needed to wait until Maya was like, well, wait until my friends are around. I'm gonna place them in certain place. And I was like, well, hold on.
Oh yeah, we did have a plan to really, really do damage.
You guys did. I was trying to tell Kaya, don't be the one to throw the first lick though, because you're gonna end up handling it. I'm confident about that. But don't throw the first lick so that you aren't the one that gets suspended, that it doesn't come back on you. So I was teaching a little bit of strategy. But anyway, she took Big Sis's her advice and ended up handling business, whooped girl, through and through, and got suspended. And then I had to come up to the school again. So I was like, but it all worked out. It all worked out.
I'm just not going to say what else on there.
Prepare for conflict.
And it is prepare for conflict. So I'm going to throw a little curveball. I feel like I'm teaching my girls now to establish inner peace. So no matter which card you have to pull, you're okay with how you feel inside. I need you to have some type of inner calm at all times. Just live like that. And if you have to handle somebody, you're okay. If you don't do it, you're okay. Whichever way that it goes.
Right.
And that way, if you're
something on his story that was like, I think about my decisions. So if I smack you in the face, I've thought about it and I'm conscious about my decision.
That part.
Yes, it's more calculated when you're
right.
to peace.
I want to own everything I'm doing. I don't want it to be a split second decision that I probably just impulsively reacted.
But I would definitely.
And that's good, bad, or different.
Peace. Yeah. Yeah. I was saying
that's good, bad, or different. I feel like you think about your decisions, whether it's right or wrong. You thought about it, and you have to sit on your decision
all the way through.
We had a good comment from
let me prop this up. Ashana says to carve time out for self-care actually models for them to do the same as part of their needs. They don't know what you don't show them though. Facts.
Yeah, I like that.
Facts. Yeah, absolutely.
Which I think also goes back to like showing them your humanity, like showing them your humanity. Okay. Okay.
What was that?
Because I'm thinking about my parenting, right? I'm like, okay, I do have to be more of a parent because I do really see him as like my little best friend, but like I literally have to become more of a parent. That's what this conversation is making me realize. Like with you, Adia, I'm like, yeah, Santa Claus isn't real, buddy. Let's go play. Like, like I'm not seeing it as like this. I'm just like, gang, gang, but I'm his mother. So, okay.
Let's
This
confirm
conversation
that.
is making me realize there's so much to parenthood. Like I'm just like,
It's a
and it's
lot.
going by
Yeah.
so slow for me. I don't know about y'all,
Mhm.
but it's going by very slowly. Okay,
Yeah,
so
where we at?
would you rather raise self-reliant kids or emotionally attuned kids?
They got to be both. I can't.
If
You
you
can't.
had to pick one, if you had to pick one.
Oh,
Can you have one without the other though? Because I feel like if you're not emotionally in tune, how could you be self-reliant?
A
Yeah.
lot of people are
no, I know
self-reliant,
an
but
adult.
not
I know
emotionally
some
attuned.
adults. We know an adult that's self-reliant and not emotionally attuned. Adia.
That is so true. You're right.
I mean, it's like that's like a super imbalance. That's like, oh,
It is. It's an imbalance.
How
that's
that's a
hard.
hard
That's hard to do.
That
Yeah,
is
that's kind of hard to even
one. Phew.
do.
Um.
I think
hmm.
I'm gonna go emotional. Like I want my kids to be emotionally sound
Yeah, yeah. If you
because I
got to
feel
live
like
with
you
me
make
for the rest of your life.
better decisions
Mm-hmm.
when
Hmm.
you're emotionally sound.
Yeah, emotions can go back and forth though. It just depends on the weather. You know?
Yeah, attuned because if you have a self-reliant, I'm thinking about adults that are self-reliant and emotionally unattuned, and they're really toxic and
To the environment.
cause a lot more danger in their environment than
Yeah.
not. It's a lot. It's a lot that
Yeah.
becomes a lot more detrimental to the community, and then you don't even know because it looks good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're out there creating havoc.
Mm-hmm.
So probably emotionally attuned. I'm with
Yeah.
that too. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Would you rather we'll just do this last one, like comfort them or challenge them?
Challenge. I
I'm a
think life poses challenges. I think we go through 90% of challenges all the time. 10% is how you make them,
what you do with it.
overcome them challenges. Yeah. I think trying to teach them, not to give up, so to speak, beat yourself up, get down, don't, keep your head, just lift yourself. Despite what happens out there, I think, that's what's gotten me through, and I try to preach that.
Yeah.
Challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Depends on this. I don't know. Depends on the circumstance because I always want my kids to feel like I'm a safe place for them. So I
Mhm.
don't always want them to feel like when I come to mom, it's always going to be like a challenge situation. Sometimes I want them to, if they just need to just be comforted, I want them to feel free to do that with me.
Right.
However, that's not the way of the world. So I think
Mhm.
there needs to be a balance of comfort and challenge. Because if you're just comfort, how do they know how to like overcome?
Right.
Things.
But
Yeah.
if you're just
Yeah.
challenge, they don't come to you.
And they're hardened. Yeah. Either
Yeah.
way, you're going to be super
I
savvy.
think maybe that's where community comes in because someone should be that point of comfort, and then someone should be. That's kind of how I'm thinking about it. Like, I think I'll remain the comfort for my son, but I know he gets challenged from his father or his uncles or other teachers, like, but just
Yeah.
not me. So I don't know how that will work out.
I actually think you can be 2-in-1. And I
Okay.
will give props to my sis for this. She's good at when I call her and I'm going through something, she's good at validating what I'm feeling, but
Hmm.
also challenging my reaction.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's how I'm more challenge based in a I'm more challenge based from an empowering space though.
Right.
Like you know what I'm saying? Like who are you? First of all, let's start there. We're gonna couch this whole conversation in and who are you? this luminous being that you are.
Yeah, there was one time where I literally came to my mom and we had to talk about it. Do you know? I think we're talking about the same thing, maybe, because I'm not going to get into too much detail. But I
Right.
definitely came needing comfort. But I didn't tell her that. But I wasn't crying, but I was talking, and she hit me with challenge. But it was from an empowering standpoint, like, you're my daughter. I think so much more of you. You're way above the situation. By the time, I literally just wanted to cry. And I was like,
And then what I was telling her after we had that, she had come to me about the same thing twice before. And I did the comfort. And by the third time, I'm like, okay, okay. So we're not getting it that
yeah,
way.
we're not getting it that way. Yeah, that
Be
made
who you
sense.
are, and then let's ground there, and then
And then, yeah.
yeah.
But it's also like telling it, having that conversation with your kids and your mother, like open conversation, like, hey, I just need comfort right now, or hey, I'm actually like needing to be fueled right now, and working through that.
Yeah, someone says, Ashana said, the challenge is done lovingly. It is comforting, a safe space to explore adversity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have come to the end of the part 2 of raising children and raising ourselves. And this has been an awesome, awesome conversation, awesome episode.
Yeah.
I'm grateful to both of you for taking time out and joining us in the cocoon and adding so much texture to our conversations here and bringing some wisdom and, being open to sharing your experiences and being transparent as well. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you.
For having me again. It's
Yeah,
lovely.
thank y'all again. I'm so proud of y'all. Keep doing it. I will be tuning in and spread the word. I'm very, very excited and happy for y'all. Y'all, especially y'all too. Y'all wasn't even. I mean, I remember when y'all was
in the womb.
Yes. I mean, it's incredible to see how grown you ladies are and what y'all doing. I'm very happy for y'all, for your mother. I can tell she's did a wonderful job with y'all. I was there as the whole process was going. So, y'all like my daughters too, So I appreciate the opportunity to come on and get a chance to talk to y'all.
Yes, this has been really, 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 really awesome.
Good to meet you, Adia.
Adia.
Adia?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well.
Yes,
nice.
It's my sister, Andre. It's one of my sisters from another mother.
Okay.
Yes. All right. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you again.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I do just want to say, we are on all live streaming platforms, on all streaming platforms, and we go live on Facebook and YouTube every other Tuesday
at 7:30 Eastern time.
All right.
All right. Love you all. See you soon.
Bye, y'all.